What if Naruto was an Uchiha Part 1? Let's go. Now for the story to make sense at all, we have to make one assumption. Naruto is obviously an Uchiha, so he has to have the genes. For that to happen, Minato will be an Uchiha. Now, that only makes Naruto a half Uchiha, being half Uchiha and half Uzumaki, with, of course, Kushina being Naruto's mother, which is an Uzumaki. Now, I'm going to keep it this way and not make both of his parents Uchiha, because it makes sense for the whole Nine-Tails thing later on, but it just makes sense to have Naruto inherit his mother's chakra, and some other stuff which will just make sense later on in the series. Now, the night of Naruto's birth, also known as the attack of the Nine-Tailed Beast on Konoha, stays pretty much the same as in canon. However, Minato is slightly stronger in this timeline. Because we don't know the effects of the Namikaze genes on chakra capabilities, jutsus, and so on, I'm gonna assume that the Uchiha are stronger than the Namikaze, which I think is fair to say. So I'm gonna say, obviously, Minato has black hair, as all Uchihas do, but he is also just stronger, and known as the Black Flash of Konoha. At least during his war times, that is. Meaning he deals with the Masked Man, naming himself Madara Uchiha, but truthfully being Obito much quicker than in canon, and then moves on to the Fox himself. But this fight is still a hard one. It's the Nine-Tailed Beast, the strongest one of them all, and Minato is single-handedly taking him on. However, he sees no way out, and so, just in the original story, Minato sacrifices himself and the life of his son to be miserable, but seal the beast into the sun, therefore saving the village, but causing much pain for his son, now and in the future. After this night, after Hiruzen found him, that is, Naruto was put into orphanages, but kept being kicked out. He was doing just fine with the other kids, though a little shy. I mean, there wasn't much he could do wrong. He was still only a few weeks old. But the adults just didn't like him. They hated him, if anything. They saw him as the reason that their family, friends, and others died. Only a few weeks ago. Many houses were destroyed, including their own. And they knew that this kid was the reason. Why? Well, let's say Danzo played a little game. Now, Danzo doesn't tell everyone this information, only Naruto's caretakers, hoping that at one point he will be the caretaker, as if he could adopt the Nine-Tails and use him for his own plans, he would essentially have won the battle and won the title of third Hokage. Well, that's what he wanted years ago, but now I guess it would be more like fifth Hokage, as the fourth one just died. Danzo is furious more than the last few years, as this was an opportunity for him to take the throne of Hokage, as the fourth one just died. But Hiruzen was elected back into office, with the elders completely agreeing and thinking that it would be the best, as he has a lot of experience of being the Hokage. All of this made Danzo even more angry, and made him want the throne of Hokage even more. But he waited, and prepared things in the shadow. Finally, after the third orphanage, the baby, Naruto, was presented to the Uchiha, and it was asked if anyone wants to adopt him. There was no real parent that wanted it. Only some teenage boys that thought it would be a cool thing to have a little kid, but they weren't gonna let them be in charge of a newborn. Until Mikoto raised her voice. Mikoto wanted to adopt this child, as she knew that it was Kushina's. Now, a little more backstory. As Minato was in Uchiha, they actually had met a long time before. Them being Minato, Fugaku, and Mikoto. And they were pretty good friends. They were a trio. And during the academy years, Mikoto started to have feelings for Minato, but sadly for her, Minato had his eyes on someone else, Kushina Uzumaki. And as we know, later on they married. But even before that, Mikoto became best friends with Kushina. And she wasn't angry that she was gonna marry Minato, as she had found her new love, Fugaku. So there was no evil blood. Now back to the present. Mikoto, knowing that this was the child of two people so close to her, wanted to adopt him, and at least do that for her fallen friends. And Fugaku wasn't against the idea. She wanted to honor Minato in some way, especially since he was the fourth Hokage, and his friend. And since they just had a newborn, it wouldn't make that much of a change if they had two, since Sasuke, as we know, was only born a few days earlier than Naruto. So now, Itachi had two younger brothers, Sasuke and Naruto. Now, obviously Itachi knew that Naruto was adopted, but Naruto didn't, and Sasuke didn't either. But Itachi loved both of them. Obviously he loves Sasuke a little more, since he knows that that's his actual brother, but he still loves Naruto, and later on, he'll treat them equally, and love them both equally. Now, a few years later, Naruto is spying on Itachi. Itachi was sneaking out, going to the woods. Why, you might ask? Well, he had very recently found a new friend. His name was Shisui Uchiha. And Itachi was promised by Shisui that he would get some lessons on how to become a strong shinobi. Now, obviously this was a while ago, and this wasn't Itachi's first lesson from Shisui. But Shisui was still the mentor, as Itachi had a lot to learn. But Shisui, of course having incredible abilities, noticed that Naruto was hiding behind a tree. So he asked, "Is that your little brother?" Itachi didn't know what he was talking about, but then Naruto walked out from behind the tree, and was shocked. It was kinda weird that his really young brother was so good at hiding already. They both laughed it off, but Naruto didn't find it funny. He wanted to become a shinobi, is what he told them. And then Shisui didn't budge an eye, and asked him if he wanted to learn how to throw shuriken and kunai like a real shinobi, even going into a squatting position to be on equal eye level with Naruto. Naruto already adored Shisui, and now got a few shuriken put in his hand, and Shisui kinda explained how to use the technique to throw shuriken, obviously just in a straight line, not any jumping 360 kind of stuff that Itachi was learning how to do. However, Naruto had a lot of fun with it, and at the end of the day, he managed to stick 2 shuriken in the tree that he was aiming at, which isn't a bad feat, since he was incredibly young. So, Itachi and Naruto went to the woods every day from that on. And Naruto got much better, pretty quick actually. He stuck 5 shuriken to the tree on the next day, then 10. Then he stuck about 10% of what he threw, and had to get them back to actually be able to throw more. And then, only 3 weeks later, he stuck every shuriken to the tree that he threw. Obviously not well aimed, but it was something. And Shisui saw his potential, and their friendship grew tighter and tighter. Now, about a half year later, Naruto and Itachi are still training every day, but Sasuke is getting a little jealous, as he kind of knows what Naruto is doing, and knows that he's becoming a shinobi faster than him. And they've always had a little bit of a rivalry, even though they love each other. Of course, they're brothers. But they still want to be better than each other, if that makes sense. But Naruto kind of inherited Shisui's kindness, so instead of bragging about his strength, he gives Sasuke some of the shuriken that he borrowed from Shisui, and explains how to throw them, and then they have fun together. Naruto, Sasuke, and Itachi are truly lovely brothers. But that's it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.